Chair recognizes himself. Mr. Secretary, you know what the number is, don't you? Number that Mr. Gates was trying to get a response from. You know what that number is, right?
Congressman, I would be pleased to provide this committee, you, Mr. Chairman.
You don't know now? You don't know what that is? I mean, again, just to read, because what Mr. Gates was trying to get at, I think what the country would like to know is we know that there's been an influx of people coming in. Over 2 million encounters on our southern border, inadmissible aliens on our southern border. We know that number has come in since Joe Biden's been president. We know it's a big number. And all he was asking was how many of that 2-point-something million, over 2 million, how many have went through the adjudication process and actually been removed?
Mr. Chairman.
And you're telling the Judiciary Committee today you don't know what that number is?
Mr. Chairman, what I am sharing with you is that we will provide you with whatever data you request.
No, that's not where I want to go right, but it's a simple, we've had kind of two simple questions that you didn't give an answer to, and I just want to know, give you a second chance here if you'll do it. What is that number? Out of that 2-point-something universe of inadmissible aliens encountered on our southern border who've come into the country, been released into the country, how many have went through the adjudication process and then been removed?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be pleased to provide you with that.
Can you guess?
Mr. Chairman, it is
Can you give an estimate?
Mr. Chairman, I will not.
Why will you not give an estimate to the American people? Because they would like to know, because that sort of frames it. Here's what's come in, here's who you've allowed in since Joe Biden's been president, and here's the ones who've actually been removed.
I would say two things, Mr. Chairman. Number one, I will provide that data to you. We will do so.
Well, you're not real good at that because you've said that other times here, and you don't give us the data. I mean, we asked information about the Disinformation Governance Board, and all we get is redacted documents. So you're not real good about that. And it's a simple question, and frankly, a question we ask you to be prepared for. We wrote you 2 letters in the last several weeks to be prepared to answer that kind of question. I think probably that specific question, and you won't give us an answer. And so the fact that you won't is bad, and the fact that you don't know is just as bad, because it's the one question the country kind of would like to know. What's really happening? When you say all these, pathways and things, and your border secure, and all the things you say, we kind of like to know what's really happened with the 2-point-something million people who've been released into the country since Joe Biden's been president. How many have went through the adjudication process and been removed?
So now
simple question.
So now I have 3 points. 1, we will provide the data to you.
God bless you. We've been waiting, but God bless you. I hope you do it this time.
2, we have been cooperating with this committee. We have made countless documents and people available to you. We have provided briefings.
Yeah, and here's what those, by the way, just so you know, I'll let you finish with your third point. Here's what those documents look like. Here's the one you sent to us on when you formed, it's policy and responsibilities in the department's information manipulation mission. That sounds scary enough, information manipulation mission, and it's all redacted. And this is the kind of stuff you gave us when we were trying to figure out who was responsible for putting together the Disinformation Governance Board, and I think my colleague, Mr. Johnson, was asking. And now we're asking a simple question about a number. And the fact that you won't give it to us or don't know it is, I think, a concern for all of us. I would say both sides, because the Democrats probably want to know too. They probably, that's something that should be so obvious, and you won't communicate to. Make your third point.
Mr. Chairman, we'll provide that information to every member.
Will it be like this, or will it be a real number? Will it be like that? Will it be a real number?
Mr. Chairman, the third point
Let me ask you real quick. Can you get that number to us like tomorrow? Or you got to go back, and is it going to take weeks and months and haggling back and forth on all the letters we do? Congress writes letters to agencies and we haggle back and forth, all that dance we have to do. Or can you just get us the number?
Mr. Chairman, we'll provide that data to you as promptly as possible. My third point would be the most fundamental point of all when we speak of immigration. We are dealing with a fundamentally broken system. We have between 11 and 12 million.
I got 50 seconds, so I appreciate that. You've said that before, so I got that point. Don't mean to cut you off, but I got to get this. Now, in your testimony, you said you've arrested 14,000 smugglers. Seems like a big number to me. What happened to those guys?
Those individuals, Mr. Chairman, are, if the evidence so supports, prosecuted for smuggling.
You've referred them to DOJ. You've arrested them. You've given them over to DOJ. What's happened to them? Have they been indicted, taken to trial, found guilty? Are they in prison somewhere? What's the status? That is a huge number. 14,000 smugglers. I mean, God bless you for getting them, but I'd like to know what happened to them.
Very, very pleased to provide that data to you. Let me provide some examples.
You just told us a couple minutes ago you work closely with the FBI. We'd like that information too. That's important. Have you arrested any of them multiple times?
Congressman, I'll provide that information for you.
You think that's a possibility? Some of those smugglers you've arrested more than once?
Congressman, when I prosecuted immigration crimes in the 1990s, we saw individuals who had repeated violations of criminal laws of the United States and repeated removals from the United States. I've prosecuted.
My time has expired. But you think a smuggler, you catch someone smuggling people, smuggling drugs, that guy would be prosecuted, and you'd think you would, again, know that answer too. But we hope you get those answers too. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida for 5 minutes.
2 million encounters and releases under your watch. So not including the Title 42 expulsions, not including violent criminals. Of those 2 million plus that you've encountered and released, how many have you told to go home?
Congressman, individuals who are released are placed in immigration enforcement proceedings under the law where they can make their claim for relief. If their claim for relief is not satisfied, they are subject to removal from the United States.
Right, subject to removal sounds very different than actually removed. So I'm not interested in the process. I'm not interested in what people are subject to. 2 million people encountered and released. Not the expulsions under Title 42, not the criminals. How many of those people have you deported?
So, Congressman, a few points. Number one.
Just how many of the people? I just want to know how many. It's just a number.
Congressman, we are dealing with a completely broken immigration system.
I get it. No, Mr. Secretary, I'm not going to let you burn my 5 minutes. Do you know the answer? Do you know the number of people out of that 2 million that you've removed that aren't criminals?
I do know that we have removed more aggravated felons.
Right, I'm not asking about them. I've caveated that away, because here's what I'm sort of getting and what your non-responsiveness is demonstrating. The Mayorkas doctrine is this. If you show up at the border and get released into the country, if you don't commit a specific aggravated felony, which, by the way, doesn't include a lot of assault and battery, doesn't include a lot of bad domestic violence, but if you're not one of the people who commit those crimes, you get to stay forever. Is that a fair characterization of your doctrine?
No, that is false.
Then tell me how many you're sending home.
No, that is false.
Okay, but you don't know the number of how many you've sent home. Here's another number. 1.2 million people today have been through your entire process. Right? They've been through what you call a removal proceeding is just an amnesty dance. Because after the 1.2 million people get an order from the judge saying that they don't have a basis to be here, you still don't remove them. Like, what's your plan to remove those people?
Congressman, that is false.
Okay, how many of them then? Just give me the number.
Congressman, in this country, there are between 11 and 12 million.
Right, but I'm asking about a subset that you won't send home. And the reason you're smirking about it and the reason you won't answer my question is because everybody gets the joke. And the sad thing is it's not just us here, it's the cartels who get the joke too. And so now what you've done to execute this Mayorkas doctrine where so long as you don't commit a crime, you get to stay here and burden our hospitals, burden our schools, burden our social services, burden our jails. You've sent the message to the cartels and then you've taken this app and you've digitized illegal immigration and you've scaled it to the moon. Like this app that you've got everybody downloading is like the Disney Fast Pass into the country, never to be subject to actual removal, just removal proceedings as you call them. That app doesn't do any search of their criminal history in their home country, does it?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Well, I'm sure, but just answer the question. Does the app that you are out there promoting do any search of people's criminal history in their home country?
Congressman, Customs and Border Protection screens and vets individuals whom they encounter.
Your
thoroughly.
app, it either has the functionality to test their criminal history in their home country or it doesn't. By the way, if it did, you'd have already told me. It doesn't. And then the other epic failure of this that's empowered the cartels is that in these processing centers you've set up in other countries to just wave them all in at a rapid pace, you've had to shut them down in Nuevo Laredo because the cartels were standing outside extorting people. Isn't that right?
Congressman, that is false.
Oh, really? So why did you shut down that facility in Nuevo Laredo?
Congressman, the point of safe, orderly, and lawful pathways is to reduce the number of encounters at our southwest border.
But wait a second. You've just shifted those encounters because right now, for the first time in modern history, more people are showing up at the ports of entry than running through some Bush in Yuma, Arizona. And the reason they're showing up at the ports of entry is because you've got the turnstile open, where so long as they've gone and downloaded this app, you just let them in. I got one final question for you, and it's an important one. Is Mexico an ally in this fight against illegal immigration?
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, it's hilarious and somewhat troubling that you say that, because like I'm looking at the El Chapo trial where President Nieto took a $100 million bribe from the Sinaloa cartel. Do you think that the subsequent presidents following Nieto weren't offered a bribe by the cartel or didn't take the bribe?
Congressman, I disagree with everything you have said.
Right, but you can disagree all you want, but what you won't provide is any number. And when you sit there and just kind of ostensibly disagree without any facts, it shows people what the real gig is. The Mexican government is captive to the cartels. They are doing the bidding of the cartels, and based on your response today, so are you.